Darkoath. It's been a while. They've been out in the wild for a little bit now, but as of the Autumn Warcry update, they are finally here. We get rules for not only the Darkoath themselves, but also Gunner's Oathbound, and I think they got play. I think they are a really interesting faction. They have a whole suite of different abilities that allow you to really tailor your lists for a lot of different opponents, what you think you're going to be fighting, and have a whole bunch of utility that I think could make them a very rewarding warband to play. Okay, so there's a lot going on with Oathbound. We're going to start with their reaction, Glorious Death. So they have one beast in the warband. We're going to get to it. Anyone guessing is the Wilderfiend. Models with a beast rune mark cannot make this reaction, so the beast, I'm really sorry, Wilderfiend. You're going to have to do other things, but a fighter can make this reaction when they are targeted by a melee attack action, after damage is totaled, but before it's allocated to the fighter, so you get to see what damage is going to be. Very much like Hunters of One, she's slippery. Basically, the warband, as your fighters die throughout the turns, you're going to get bonus doubles, triples, and quads, depending on what your fighters are doing. Now, I talked about being favored. This is basically how you do it. Every one of your abilities, they've got their regular ability, what it's going to do, and then a secondary effect if you are favored. That effect might be a bonus thing that the ability does, or it might just enhance what the ability does itself. How are you going to be favored? Everyone has this double Oath to Murder, except, again, Wilderfiend. Really sorry, Wilderfiend. You're going to need tokens for this thing. Remembering it is going to be a nightmare. You're going to be using your doubles, pouring it into Oath to Murder. At some point during the battle, let's say you want to use Onslaught to boost your damage to kill a guy. You do that, lose your Oath token, become favored, and then you gain a free double back. You can use your abilities to kill things and then get back a little bit of value as you play the game. What does being favored allow you to do? I've got 4 abilities here. Swift Attacker basically gives you a bonus attack action if you moved within 1 inch of an enemy fighter. If you're favored, you get to add the value of the ability to the damage that you do. So that's a very nice boost on Swift Attacker. Raider's Tenacity is a heal. If you're favored, you heal more. War Leader, you get to activate other Darkoath fighters after this fighter is activated. If you're favored, those fighters get to use Inspiring Presence basically for free. This one allows you to do it on anybody, so I think this might be the best example of this ability. Triple, Rally the Tribes, gives a bonus move action to all friendly Darkoath warriors within 6 inches, and if you're favored, all those warriors also count as one additional fighter when determining control of objectives. So becoming favored is something that you're going to want to do. It's not necessarily something you're going to want to do on your normal chaff models, your normal chuds, but you will be looking at your heroes when they want to use key abilities like these. You want to make sure they are favored in advance. So being able to use Oath to Murder very quickly is something that you're going to be having to look at whilst playing Darkoath. Getting into the fighters, we got the 2 Darkoath Chieftains, the one on Warsteed with the amazing Skull Horse that I super love, and the normal Darkoath Chieftain on foot. Real cheap, 140 points for the Darkoath Chieftain, especially when you compare it to most other bespoke warband heroes. And the Warsteed, it doesn't get the shield, unfortunately, that the Chieftain gets, but 28 wounds and movement 10, I think, gives it a lot of utility. Abilities, again, Oath to Murder that we've already talked about to give it oathed, and if it kills a guy, you get favored. And this is the one with the War Leader triple that allows you to activate more guys. I think out of all of the heroes, the Darkoath Chieftain is probably the one you are least likely to take, unless you got a whole bunch of points left over and you just wanted to upgrade a guy to a Chieftain. The Chieftain on foot is actually really good value for what you're getting just because of 140 points with that damage profile. But yeah, I think there are a lot more interesting things in the warband that we're going to take a look at. One of which is the Darkoath Warqueen. The Warqueen, I think, is in contention for one of those heroes that you are going to be wanting to bring. Why is that? It's to Rally the Tribes triple. The fighters with the Darkoath and Warrior rune mark, you're basically only looking at Marauders, but the idea is if you bring enough Marauders and you pop a Warqueen triple, they all get a bonus move. She's not that expensive, 155 points. 5424, it's a good profile. We know it's a good profile. You could boost that because she is cheap enough. You can probably make it strength 5. She will mow through chaff. And she has got that Marauder synergy, which I think makes her a very good contender for one of the heroes, at least, in your warband. Talking about Marauders, there are basically two kinds. You got Marauder with Spear, and then you got the champion versions of those. Marauders sitting at 70 points, I think is pretty good for that profile. The other Marauders out of Slaves to Darkness, they went up to 70 points, and these guys are better, if you ask me. That synergy with the Warqueen is there to give them the bonus moves. I think that's pretty awesome. You get the Marauder champions as well, they just get more attacks. I don't think you're going to be bringing Marauder champions, especially considering that there are so many good heroes in this warband. But in terms of just basic chaff, I think Marauders are fine. They only get the Oath to Murder double, but they do get the reaction, so if they die, you'll be generating extra doubles anyway. Fellriders, there are basically two flavors. You can either bring Javelins or you can bring normal ones. Javelins get Swift Attacker. Fellriders get Rider's Tenacity. If you bring normal Fellriders, they basically get the heal with a bonus heal if they are favored. If you bring Fellriders with Javelins, they get Swift Attacker, allowing them to make a bonus range attack action if they end a move action within 1 inch of an enemy fighter. Fellriders themselves, I think they're fine. They are very much cheap enough. The champions are actually kind of decent. The Fellrider champion with Axe has a whole bunch of attacks to his name. Sure, it's only strength 3, but it's 140 points. So what do you want for that points level? The Javelin is, again, okay. I don't think that the increase of damage that you're going to see is going to be worth it for the extra points you're going to be paying. So I'd take a look at normal Fellriders. Why would I take them? They're coming up more and more to have these small singular shooty pieces in Warcry. I'm talking about things like Quiet Pock, talking about things like the Arbalester. What you're going to be wanting is some kind of fast-moving threat that you can run into those pieces, make them burn disengage actions so that the amount of shooting they're putting out at you is halved. Fellriders are really good to do that because they're cheap enough. They put out a little bit of damage, nothing amazing, but they're really there as these kind of disruption pieces. They can run into deployment groups of very weak chaff. They can tank it a little bit and they can stop them from moving for a turn. I think they're pretty good for what you get. They're utility fighters at the end of the day. You're bringing them from their ability to lock up spaces on the board, to block enemy movement, and to disrupt where your opponent is going. Finally, the Wilderfiend. Wow. I love the Wilderfiend. 300 points of raw fury. Can't use a reaction. Can't use Oath to Murder. It's got its own ability, which is kind of ridiculous. But what is it? 300 points? Real expensive. Beast Remark, can't pick up things. Who cares? 6 attacks, strength 5, 3/4 damage profile. That's what we're talking about. Serious damage. This thing will last, and if you get into combat with it, you're going to fall down. I think the Wilderfiend is really good. But the kind of ridiculous thing about it is its quad. If you pop this quad, you're going to go up to 8 attacks, strength 5 with 3/4 damage profile. You're going to get to pick a guy, do a whole bunch of damage to him, and once that's all done, you're going to get another guy to activate. Average damage, 12.25. This thing swings at you, you're going to fall over. If you wanted to bless this thing up to make it even more powerful, I'd probably look at base damage, make it a 6.544, because that's kind of crazy. Yes, it makes it 330 points, but I think that's 330 points well spent. You don't need to bring in something like a Favoured. You could bring in Vex more, but when you got cool things in faction, just bring them, you know? What was also added? Brand's Oathbound. A whole bunch of heroes. Well, a whole bunch of kind of heroes. Some of them are heroes, some of them aren't heroes. They're all Darkoath, so you can just bring them in your Darkoath warbands. We're going to take a look at them, see what they bring to the table. Starting with the man himself, the man, the legend, Gunner Brand. 165 points, pretty cheap. He's basically a straight upgrade from your normal chieftain. They all get Oath to Murder because they're all Darkoath. They all get access to the reaction because they're all Darkoath. He's got the triple Carve a Path to Glory. Half the value of this ability to the attacks characteristic of melee attack actions made by this fighter. If he's favored, you add the full value to the fighter instead. Now remember, to get favored, you need to use the double first Oath to Murder. Then you need to kill a guy. You get a double 1 back. But then you're favored, and then you get to use the triple at full strength. So most of the time, you're not going to be using the triple at full strength, but a decent enough triple, let's say a triple 4, puts him up to like 7 attacks at strength 4. So I think he's okay. I actually think he's one of the weakest out of the heroes when you can take, especially when you compare him to like the Warqueen or Tamari that we're going to see here. But just as a fighter that you want to do a bunch of damage, I think Brand, he's fine. He's okay. Singri. Singri's my favorite though. No hero remarks, so that's kind of sad. 200 points, 3313 combat, whatever, nobody cares. The bow, 18-inch range, our 2424 damage profile. Right. The thing about this bow is that she has her triple uncanny shot. If she gets a triple 4, that thing is going up to 4 shots with no minimum. If she gets a triple 5 or triple 6, that thing is going up to 5 shots at the strength 4 with a 2/4 damage profile. You know what I'm going to say now. Give it +1 strength. Start mowing down chaff from across the board. She can basically get anywhere that she wants to. Then when she's favored or attacking an enemy fighter within 1 inch of Gunner Brand, Gunner's her dad, and Singri is like riding around shooting things for them, and they support each other on the battlefield, you add the full value of this ability to the attack's characteristic instead. Singri is, I think, the best option for a fighter to get favored almost in the entire warband. As soon as she gets on the battlefield, you're going to want to use Oath to Murder, and you're going to want to pick off basically any cheap, easy to kill chaff, get her favored as soon as possible, and then start pouring triples into her. With a 666, she goes up to 8 shots. That's kind of amazing. At the most, on average, she's going to be doing 10 points of damage with her shots, but she gets 2 of those, so 20 points of damage to anything on the board. If she gets the wound on 3s with the strength 5, you're looking at 26 points of damage. It's really, really good. I expect Sindri basically to be in every single Darkoath warband. I know she's going to be in every single Darkoath list that I'm going to be writing. Another really good option for champions, Warqueen Tanari, 185 points. She gets Warqueen's Fury, which is kind of ridiculous. So in essence, she's going to get to make 1 bonus attack action on every single enemy fighter that is either within 1 inch or 3 inches. With those 5 attacks at strength 424, she will blend chaff. Skeletons, fall over. Graveguard, fall over. Any kind of 10 woundish thing will just die to Warqueen Tanari, and that triple. It is really, really strong. If I was going to buff her, I'd probably look at strength again, or else I might take my Calthea Zandai route, give her +1 base damage, and then suddenly all those bonus attacks are probably one-shotting things. So I think Tanari is probably my option alongside the other Warqueen as the 2 of the best fighters for you to be able to take for your hero. Nadja's 95 points, 15 wounds. Her stats aren't all that good to look at, right? Her ability, though, is pretty funky. Withering Death. You're going to roll 6 dice. For each 4, allocate damage to that fighter equal to half the value of this ability, and then if she's favored, you roll 9 dice instead of 6. Pretty much the only way you're going to get Nadja favored is if you use Oath to Murder and then use Withering Death and then kill a guy with Withering Death to get her favored. But Withering Death is a very strong triple. Half the value of the ability, on average, each 4 or more is going to be doing maybe 2 damage. If you roll a 333 or 444, possibly 3 damage. I really like Nadja just because she's cheap enough to be able to take and fill in those extra points, and she's just a flat upgrade out of a normal Marauder. Finally, we have Dendril Diabrand, 125 points, very average. His triple is Demolishing Strikes. Melee attack actions hit on 3s. So they always hit on 3s. You don't need to give him bonus strength. And if he's favored, they crit on 5s. So I would only really bring Dendril if I had the points to upgrade a Marauder and I didn't have anything else to spend them on, and I wasn't specifically taking the Warqueen with the Marauder synergy. Being able to hit on 3s is fine, but it's just a bunch of 2/4 damage attacks. It's okay, but on average, it's not going to be one-shotting a skeleton. I think Dendril is probably the weakest of the lot of them. I'd rather bring Nadja over him. Of course, we're going to be bringing Sindri over him. So yeah, that's Dendril Diabrand. What kind of allies would you want to take? Well, the usual suspects here are Varangard and Vexmore, but I don't think the Warband necessarily needs them. I think they got the chaff in there. They got some decent damage options in there. They got the big boy, the Wilderfiend in there. So I don't necessarily think you're going to have to bring something in. I think what the Warband is missing, however, is some kind of proper disruption piece. So maybe something like a Trueblood might be interesting for you with that guaranteed net to be able to neutralize big things like enemy Varanguards, enemy Vexmore, enemy whatever. So your Wilderfiend has the space to be able to get in there and attack things. I think that's the way that you want to go for this. So that's what I'd be looking at. I've noticed 58% of you guys are not subscribed. So here's my call for you. If you like what you see and you want to see more videos, please don't forget to subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing and it helps me out a ton by helping me get noticed more on YouTube and helping me get my videos out to more people. And also, if you want to give me some more support and you want to throw that my way, you can join me over here on YouTube as a member. You can join me over on Patreon and you can join me over on Streamlabs. Either way, you're going to get to see behind the scenes content. You're going to get to see stuff before it even comes out on YouTube, and you're going to have a little bit of a say into the kind of content I'm creating going forward. List ideas, right. This is kind of what I would bring, I think, if I was playing Darkoath. And I say if I was, when I'm going to be playing Darkoath. I think solo Darkoath have a lot going for them. Singri is just a fantastic artillery piece that can get anywhere she wants to get to and kill enemy chaff with that triple. I want to be using the normal Warqueen, I think, because I want to use the Warqueen and a whole bunch of Marauders to get those free moves off. We're going to be taking Sindri. We're going to be taking a Wilderfiend. Yes, it's a 7-man warband, but it's a 7-man warband with a lot of range projections. I kind of like that. You could bring Tanari if you wanted to, if you thought you were going to come up against Hordes, but I think this is pretty cool. Other options, you could drop the Wilderfiend entirely for out-of-faction heroes. If you wanted to bring Vexmore, you could bring Vexmore. If you do that, it leaves you around about 160 points across the entire warband to get some more stuff. You can buy a pair of Marauders. You can buy a pair of Fellriders for those points, mess around with Vexmore, mess around with his points a little bit. There's a lot you can do with this warband. Just having 70-point Marauders with that stat line, I think is good enough. If you really wanted to, you could just bring Chaos Good stuff, right? Bring Tanari to go in there and mince chaff units, bring your Marauders, bring Vexmore, bring your Varanguard. This is the kind of thing that I would be building. All right, and that is it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching. What do you think about the new Darkoath? Personally, I really like them. I'm excited to start building for them. I need to get the Wilderfiend because I need to build and paint one of those. Those are my thoughts. I think they have a lot going for them. As always, if you like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comment section below what you think about the new Darkoath. If you've got any interesting builds, I'd like to hear that. If you've got any interesting allies that you think might work with them or any interesting tactics, I'd like to hear that also. Slap that down in the comment section. We'll have a talk about it. But yes, that is it. That is it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been iTurn. This has been Off Meta Musings, and we'll see you next time.